Hello, welcome again to another podcast on Talk Architecture. I'm your host, Naziati Mohammed Yaqub. This is the second episode on accessibility and universal design. And I would like to continue about the second session where we'll be talking about what is beyond compliance. So I went about benchmarking existing facilities in Kuala Lumpur and Petaling Jaya. And I studied on hotel rooms. And it just happened that the many hotels that I frequented and stayed in them, and I'd be very sensitive about what are the designs so that they include safety, usability, and accessibility. And it doesn't mean that if it is a five-star hotel, it will have a five-star accessible design. But however, in the case of the former Shangri-La in Putrajaya, which is called Deepal's Hotel, they renovated the accessible room, especially where you take a shower. And they did very well. The tray did not have any water coming out and doing water ponding. There is a shower curtain that helps. And I asked for a plastic chair. People would say that why don't they have the flip down chair that is fixed to the wall? I'd rather have a concrete um, bench rather than a flip down seat, or alternatively, a plastic chair. So that's not an issue. So the bigger issue is the handrails where people would like to stand in it and the floor surface. That is the most important thing, actually. A floor surface, if it is slippery, it doesn't exit or get the water to be drained out quickly, and it doesn't have a texture to it, it's going to be slippery. So in the case of the mosaic tiles laid out very well in the shower tray, it makes for a better grip. And also the placement of the the floor trap with coincidentally under the shower head. So that is cool. And also the fact that there is this series of handrail that goes right to the wheel to the WC. This is a this was done by someone who knows accessible design or accessibility, and I have to give this a good mention. Of course, we can have in Singapore. We don't only have one accessible rooms or a few accessible rooms. In the Hotel Oasia at Novena in Singapore, a friend of mine who's in a wheelchair visited me, and we discovered that this hotel room, the regular rooms, are accessible for elderly persons, especially, and wheelchair users. The bathroom, um, apart from that glass, shall we say, barrier, so that water don't spill onto the other areas, um, it is quite accessible. You can actually wheel right up to the shower seat and have a bath, a shower. And you could quite, apart from the sink, which is lacking in knee space, it is quite acceptable. Now, also what we noted are those benches next to the window that are good for people who want to dress up and sit and do yoga or something like that, which is kind of interesting to have in this regular room. And everything else is quite reachable, the drawers, the shelves, and so on. So it was really a good hotel room. Of course, we compare with the Hakihabara Hotel. I don't know the name exactly, but it's located there, which is much more accessible and having better shower features in a very compact design with sliding doors to go into the bathroom and so on. Um, it is a regular hotel room in Akihabara, but it is quite accessible. Now, another study that we looked into today will be the study on toilets. Now, we're thinking about benchmarking, where our benchmark that we need to see, and this is to do with the Malaysian standard 1184. And unfortunately, this particular bathroom, or sorry, toilet for that is for disabled persons, built a sink next to the toilet seat, which is not compliance, meaning that you don't have the side transfer possible with having a sink next to the toilet bowl. You can only have two transfers from the front and diagonally. So we have diagrams from Malaysia Standard later, which I will show, that shows this requirement. So also that you need to call these people to get into the bathroom. It's good because the place is not being misused, but it is a bit of not really that clear in writing, and that is the problem with this system. We went to another shopping mall which has a compliance to Malaysian standard. In fact, if you flip the adjustable grab bar, you can do the side transfer, front and diagonal. And a good feature is the grab bar behind the toilet bowl, which helps a lot of people. And that's according to the Singapore standards. But Malaysian standard don't have that. Here we have the diagrams for Malaysian standard, the front, the side, and the diagonal transfer. And that's why it is drawn out that way, so that more and more people can use the facilities and accessible toilet design. So you see the Malaysian toilet, Malaysian standard, you don't have the grab bar at the back, but in Singapore standards you do at the back of the toilet bowl. But this is the dimensions that will make it more accessible for people to use the toilet. So we have also compliance in University Malaya Medical Center, Menara Selatan, and they actually try to flush the inside and outside without any ramps. So that's really good with a sliding door. We sometimes have problems in terms of the locking mechanism. So it's not really great there, but you have the toilet, but you have the sink next to the toilet, but it is recessed in. So you have a space where you could do the side transfer in this toilet. And they had renovations or upgraded the where the gutter at the floor, or the where the water runs. They have upgraded to fiberglass, which you can see here on the left, from metal grill, which has been subjected to a lot of abuse and use, and had broken down. So there is this learning, often this learning curve where people will understand how to rectify the problem eventually. Of course, we compare it with the Akihabara Hotel, where you have a better design for the floor gutter. And again, we have also the hotel in Japan, example of grab bars and sliding doors, and also knee space for the shower. So the standard is we need to upgrade to a better standard, where we are much more understanding of the user's needs in the hotel room and the toilets. Of course, the best practice is having included a lot of people in the toilet. So in important hubs in a city, like a huge transportation hub, or in a hospital complex, or places where people frequent, the best practice is to also include a colostomy sink. Here in this respect, you have it located away from the toilet bowl. You still can do transfer from the site transfer, if you get rid of the rubbish bin there in the second picture or the middle one. But you know, the ostomy pouch that some people use to get rid of the urine from their body. So, or other stool. So this is necessary to have a colostomy sink rather than you put it in the toilet or in the sink. So this is like really complete. The design of the toilet that we have here, where you even have a flip down bed for an adult to change their diapers, or yeah. So this is what we call a complete facility for to include more and more people. The study on staircases and ramps are important to actually consider when we talk about accessibility and also design. And there are trends. And to combine the staircase and the ramp together, in the picture on the left, there was a trend. And even in Malaysia, we have an example of this trend being copied. Now, it seems clever, but it's so dangerous because there's lack of handrail, and the steps are not, the rises are not consistent, and it seems that the ramps look quite steep as well, and you have very little space to go down. So what's the point of this strap design? What Woha did for the enabling village, they combined the seating area with the ramp and the staircase or steps, and then you can have a much more a gradual or less steep ramps going down from one place to another, having an enjoyable sort of journey. So here we have the strength being designed in, of all places, a hospital, and you can't use it. You can't use the strength. So the hospital decided not to get people to use the strength and created barriers so that they don't use that area where it is dangerous to be used. People just use the steps part and the ramp part, yeah, but not those funny steps. So here we go, enabling village from another angle to look at how the combination of the ramp and staircase should be done. We also have another example for staircases area, which is the dedicated refuge space designed into the evacuation plan from the very beginning for high rises or buildings more than 1 story high, where it's a public building and housing area. Where do disabled person go and wait to be rescued down the stairs? Because you can't use the lifts in case of an emergency. So in this case, there is a way to actually inform people that you are there and that they actually designate this area at the fire lobby. So also for steps, in which for the fire stairs, they put embossed braille information at the handrail to inform them of where they are as they go down the steps. And that continuous handrail is very important to ensure safety when in an emergency. So this was captured in the enabling village as well. Now we're going to beyond compliance. What's beyond compliance? Meaning understanding the needs of disability and inclusivity and diversity, and the issues on designing for women and designing from the perspective of the female gender rather than from the male perspective is becoming a bigger issue, and especially when there are issues with lack of facilities. And so these are under gender parity, is what we call, where there's some equality in terms of the designing of spaces in public. So, gender mainstreaming ideas is what we have here, and what we commonly find in Malaysia, as well as illustrated in here, is the all women's coach, and which seems to be women seems to be feel much more secure and safe in these coaches. And of course, there's a debate going on and about these things, but people don't understand where this debate comes from, or the need for gender mainstreaming in public areas. Even the design of different units are the same unit, but it can be adapted to different needs, is one of the issues that is being talked about, where you're understanding gender and the needs of the different genders, especially from the women perspective, where it's also include the children as well. So where you put the partition, where you can organize a space, can create a more gender parity in the design of a unit or a housing unit and so on. For party parity, which is to do with the long queues that you see often in public places where women are waiting in line longer than men, I've experienced it myself, and I find that there is a research going on, and they found out that the waiting time could be 40 times higher for women than men. So they you see, the design is giving a space similar. The women's space is the same as the men's space, but women's needs are different than men, meaning there are some people with issues of menstruation or taking care of children, and the processes they go to do their business is different than what men does. So men have urinals and they have more of the facilities, and so there's a longer queue. So there is this issue of inequality in terms of the waiting time, and the facilities given is not according to what are the real needs are. So we've even gone into issues of transgender people wanting to use the bathrooms, and they will get they're not comfortable with using the men. If there's trans women, they're not comfortable with using the men's bathroom, and in the women's bathroom they would be accused of um, sexually harassing them and so on. So what they what they have designed here is a gendered design where everyone can enter, and there is zones where you actually, the grooming part, you can have male and female using them, the washing part as well, but the eliminating the waste part is straightforward in a different area. So you just go in and out. You don't have to go and look at each other, where you have the grooming and the washing area is open. So they have these zones that happen where it's open and there's no hidden spaces and so on. Also, the idea of inclusion utopia, for places where people have to go and use locker rooms, for example, and how it could be zoned out so that you have same entryway, but different privacy is being addressed at the different spaces. So there are shower stalls and there are private shower stalls. There are changing area, but also private changing areas. So that's the including more people to be able to use in privacy, as well as they don't really mind other people. So I'm going to the last part of this episode, which is transportation hubs. and also the recreational and sports facilities and heritage buildings. And so for transportation hubs, um, you have some best practices of actually understanding the needs of elderly person and comfortable seats, accessible and easy to find their way, and well lighted, easy in terms of the signage as well. Barrier-free seats that's available in Japanese ferries, for example. There's also a place where somebody can park themselves in their wheelchairs and use a belt so that they won't move about so much. So there are these things, small things, but they add up to big things when you travel. In Amsterdam, there is this kind of a portable ramp to get people to enter this high step at the platform area with, problems of getting to cross to jump into this coaches. You need to have this portable ramps, for example. So again, universal design, as we say, is not only to do with the building well designed, but the assistance and the services and assistive devices that are used. And this way, this is a contraption. It's part of assisted device, portable ramp. And we have had issues going up, being have to take alternative transportation because of lifts breaking down in railway station, for example, on the left. For the airports, we can have tables where you assist people at eye level, and there is a sign that is the international access sign or symbol where you could go there and then get assistance, and a variety of wheelchairs are available, not just one type for you to use, and you can really find it easily. There's counters for accessibility features and services. And it's the same for other airports. That the one that I showed before was in Japan. This one's in Hong Kong, where clear signages uh, indicate where for you to go and enter into certain places, and the use of tactile guide for as well to orientate you to get to the reception counter and get help. And for bus stops, the boarding and disembarking need to be very clear for disabled persons in the case of in Hong Kong here. And the procedure by the bus driver to help you on board is equally important. So we have had done some ideas in Malaysia how um, to get the design of an accessible bus stop or universal design bus stop. And we got input from the users to actually have some navigating app to help the blind person find their way to be able to find where the bus stop is. And these are the processes that they encounter, and also for the wheelchair user, identification of the bus stop. So that's why we did a version number 2, Universal Design Bus Stop in Jalan Makruf with Dewan Bandaraya Kuala Lumpur, so that in the future, all bus stops could have these features and we can include everyone in using the public transportation. However, we still need to have a shall we say a feedback or validation of the design of the bus stop. So we hope that we could do version number 3 with some agencies or local authorities. Now we're going to the sports and recreation. Very important for our country that we include disabled persons in our infrastructure of recreational areas and sports facilities. We, as a nation, we often become very, shall we say, together and unified when it comes to sports, when we win those gold medals, and a lot of our gold medals come from the Paralympics sport event. So we're looking at community sports facilities like, for example, the Kelana Jaya Sports Complex, where it's provided by the local authority for everyone. So we find it lacking in terms of accessibility here. We did an access audit. The students did it, and they come up with a report. And some of the things that they showed was the how you could get a unisex wheelchair accessible changing room for wheelchair users, and they went into beyond compliance, looking at the standards that is out there that they need to have, a bit like what I showed you the Japanese toilet earlier. So again, we look at the swimming pool area, and we found out from our survey that not many wheelchair users use the swimming pool area, and a student of architecture actually came up with this design, and this includes railings and hoists and a variety of ways to get access to the pool from all needs, including elderly persons, wheelchair users, children, and so on. How you would renovate the Kelana Jaya pool so that everybody could be um, involved. So this is under accessible design, where you have to adapt to an existing facility to be upgraded to beyond compliance. So the last bit for the second episode is the heritage and historic buildings, where we have examples in the UK, in England, where they have go beyond their usual beliefs when it comes to conservation of buildings, because of the pressure of making the buildings accessible and sustainable so that more people can use the building. For example, the National Gallery would use one of the pavilions at the side to take out the stones and the steps, because this is a big deal for conservation, where you actually renovate a Grade 1 listed building, and the stones are put in a place where there could be reversibility done, where you could reinstall those stones again. But of course, this notion or this perception to change was not easy. It was not accepted for a long time because of conservation laws. So they finally got round to wanting to make the building more accessible to other people, and got the entrance for people who are disabled and elderly to come through this pavilion. And that's where all the area where you have the cloakroom, the toilets are there, and then you can access via a lift to the other area. Same as this first grade listed building in Manchester, where they added to the new builds by Michael Hopkins a ramp from the new build to the old build at the back. They made a hole in the facade and got access from the new to the old. However, there was criticism using glass floor, because for some partially sighted people, they can't really see the difference between a void or a hole and the glass. So this is something else. But there is attempt to actually make it much more accessible. So we have a checklist here for a sustainable approach to include access needs for disabled and older persons to heritage buildings. We need information before we visit the building to find out how accessible it is. There could be steps, there could be no steps, there could be platform, lifts, there could be portable ramps, which is something that's additional services which we need to know, so that we can anticipate how we're going to negotiate those challenges. Of course, accessible parking is great to be able to park as close as possible. Approach and entrance, lift, accessible toilet, bath, emergency exits, ramp, and accessible path. These are the factors that is important when visiting heritage sites. So the next episode will be about the Universal Design Talk. Thank you for listening.